Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Readers Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I will be your host for today. And with me, this is the moment that we've been waiting for because today we are very honored and happy as we introduce one of the most valuable author we have in Readers Magnet. And yes, we're very excited to know more about him as an author, what this book is all about, and of course, what inspired him to write these books. So let's all welcome our one and only Mr. Kenneth Sousa, author of the book Mandar of Atlantis and Black Menace, Source of an Apocalyptic World. Yes. Hi, Ken. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good.
Wow, that's good to hear. You
Yeah.
know what, Ken? I'm very excited to, have this discussion with you right now. And I'm very happy as well that you also chose Reader's Magnet to, be part of this journey towards you reaching your goal as an author. And of course, sharing your story. And yes, I'm also hearing a lot of good things about you from your consultant, Kim. And I know that he's also watching right now. So why don't we greet him?
Say that again, please.
Yeah, Kim is also watching, your consultant. Why don't we say hi?
Oh, hello, everybody.
Okay, that's great. Yes. So, Ken, I know that your friends are all interested to, let's say, know more about you, and of course, me too. So, yeah, I wanted to know if first, can you tell us about who Kenneth Sousa is before we start tackling about your book?
Well, Kenneth Sousa is uh, a Portuguese English descent. Um, I started out to be a sheet metal worker, building ductwork that goes into buildings. And back in 1973, I got laid off and had to make a decision on what I wanted to do next. And I had written in high school, I had taken a lot of writing courses. I was going
Mm,
to Northeastern University in Massachusetts at the time. And I decided I wanted to become a writer. So I began
wow.
my first book and my first rejections. So
Wow, that's really interesting.
yeah,
Mm, go ahead.
I've been writing for 43 years now, and I'm actually working on my ninth book.
On your
And
ninth book.
my
Hmm.
ninth book, yes, yes. And I'm married.
Wow.
And I have a wonderful wife. And we're down here in Florida where it's still warm and no snow. So
I like that.
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Wow. That's really interesting, Ken. And from that being said, Ken, from an early age, you already discovered what you're really passionate about. You wanted to create stories, do some poetry, writing. Now, I wanted to know, for being, let's say in this industry for like how many years already, is this really something that you already see, as your career growing up?
Oh yes. I went to the Vietnam War. I'm a actually disabled veteran, and that changed my life. I
Mm-hmm.
actually didn't want to be a sheet metal worker after I came back from the war. I felt there was something bigger that I wanted to do with my life, and it's through my stories that I get to tell that story. And it's not all warfare, but it's one of the things that drives me to keep going even after 43 years of writing and 10
Mm-hmm.
books later. So,
Wow.
yeah.
uh Wow, that sounds so interesting, Ken. And here, I also heard that you're also a producer, and you also directed a drama shown on Boston television. Can you tell us
Oh,
about
yes.
that?
Don't wait. I produced a drama, which was another anti war thing about a group of people who are sitting in a local restaurant New Year's Eve, and they hear over the television that there's going to be there was an atomic attack in Europe, and what are they
Mm,
going to do with it? I wrote that script and directed the show on, I believe,
wow.
Channel 5 in Boston. And I've produced around 8 or 9 shows now, and
Mm,
I've
wow.
written and produced them actually. So
Wow, I really like that. I really like hearing your journey, Ken. And you know what? This is somehow very interesting from you being a writer, just creating stories, writing books, writing all these manuscripts, and then you also have got the chance to also, be in the television industry, which is also a good thing because it's another way of you expressing what you're really capable of. Right. And I
Right?
that's
It's
really
creativity that has to come out.
Yeah, I've been through a lot as well, right?
Right.
You know what? That's really sound amazing, Ken. And here, would you mind sharing to us the experience that from the very beginning? When did you really have the idea that you weren't really wanted to jot down notes and then create this book? Now, on your book, Mandar of Atlantis, do you have your book with you right now? Can you show it to our viewers?
I don't have one right with me, but I would have one in a minute or so. There's one right
Okay,
here.
yeah,
I have one.
that'll do it. Uh huh.
Yeah, Mandar of Atlantis.
There. Okay, wow. Such a fascinating book cover. Now, can you tell us more about that? Ken, I wanted to start from the title, Mandar of Atlantis. Can you tell us more about that and what this book is all about?
Actually, Mandar started. Technically, the name came out in my third book. I
Mm,
came up with the name Mandar of Atlantis, and the way the book is written fits in there. But I didn't actually start writing the book until years after that. Mandar is the name of the character who is Mandar in Atlantis 14,000 years ago.
mm,
I'm following the words of Edgar Casey, if television audience knows who they are. Edgar Casey was a psychologist in the 30s and 40s, and he took sick people and cured them when he went into a trance. But also, when he went into a trance, he saw their past lives. And a lot of the
mm,
people in their past lives were in Atlantis. And as a
mm,
matter of fact, says he was in Atlantis. So I read about 5 books about him and 5 books just about the Atlantis stories. And down through the years, I was traveling through Central America looking at the pyramids because supposedly in one of the pyramids there's evidence that Atlantis existed. So I
mm,
traveled through the pyramids in Central America, finally came to a pyramid at Palenque where they had when I went down into the inside of it, they had a tomb with on top of the sarcophagus was a guy flying a spaceship. And I said, wow, that's Atlantis. And
wow.
yeah. So I had this idea from reading other books that, and reading Edgar Casey, especially that it's a high tech society,
Uh
Atlantis.
huh.
Mandar it's actually 3 books. And the first one,
Mm,
Mandar of Atlantis, is the first book to introduce you to Mandar. And he's a flyer, and he's also part of the Atlantean government. And he has to save 2 people, which he does, and travel back to Atlantis. And
mm-hmm.
they have things like hover cars and spaceships and a lot of what we have today, only even a little higher than we have today. So that's basically the series is Stepmother Earth, and
Wow.
Mandar of Atlantis is the first book in Stepmother Earth.
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow. That's really nice because I really like the journey of having this book. It's full of adventure and it's a science fiction book as well, right? I believe, Ken, that everybody would really love this for all generations, not just kid, because we know that, adventures really someone that would really drive very exciting, to have that these kinds of book, it can really be a good potential to become a movie, I can tell, Ken. And here I wanted to know, being that said, what was the highlight of writing this book, and also what is the significance of the title?
Well, the significance is the title Mandar of Atlantis, and it takes place 14,000 years ago. So
Mm,
that significance is that he is in Atlantis. Although the story starts off in present day, it starts off with Manny Silva, who
mm,
travels down into Central America and gets to Guatemala and gets sick and becomes, in the delusion, becomes Mandar of Atlantis. And then
mm,
it's a real page turner. I mean, you
right.
have to find out what's going to happen to Manny, and then in about the third chapter, when he
Hmm.
becomes Mandar, you still have to find out. And he's actually
Wow.
it turns out that Manny is a future life of Mandar.
So it's
And
like a mystery, solving
yeah,
puzzles,
yeah.
a journey with a mission. Because you mentioned earlier that it's also a journey of a man who's really trying to save the earth, help other people as well. I like that. It's like,
Oh, yes,
can you
yes.
tell me, Ken, is this book of yours is advocating for a specific cause and agenda?
Say that again.
Yeah, is your book advocating a specific cause and agenda?
Well, I would have to say love. Love has a lot to do with the book.
Wow.
It is an adventure story, and there is a lot of action in the book. But there's a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
love story between him and the leading lady, Selena. And you see the love between them in the book. And it
Mm-hmm.
continues on into the second book, actually. But he does save her life. And that's quite a love story because he has to go into another dimension to save her life. So he manages to do that.
Wow. I can tell that this book can of yours is not just about science fiction, but it's actually a complete set of all genre. Because there's a love
Yes,
story,
yes.
adventure, science fiction, mystery, solving puzzles. Wow, I like that.
Yes,
This is really
it has a
interesting,
lot
Ken.
to it. It's not just an adventure story, but
Everything.
it is
Everything is
a
in
page
there.
turner.
I like that, Ken. And Ken, can you also, give us a glimpse of the other book as well for the Black Menace, Stories of an Apocalyptic World? Can you
Black
also
Mirror's book
tell
is
about that?
completely
Mm-hmm.
Black Mirror's book is completely different, although well, it is also a page turner.
Mm-hmm.
We live on a lake, and there were these two birds on the lake which were very human. They were called moorhens, and they acted so human, even with their children, their chicks. That after watching them for 3 years, I decided I've got to write a short story about these birds, and the short story grew into a novel. But everything that you see near the nest, we actually saw. What's
Mm-hmm.
outside the nest, I had to make it up because I couldn't see them. But in reality, it's an adventure story, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of love in it. There's a lot of
Wow.
taking care of your children or your chicks, and it's something that everybody needs to read and understand what's going on.
Wow. I like that. I can see. I really like you creating these books as well, Ken. I mean, it's not just you sharing your creativity through writing, but it's also about you also sharing the experience that you wanted to also relay it to the readers, to the viewers. And I like that because it's somehow, it's very
That's
hopeful.
very important to the book.
Right, right. Thank you so much for that, Ken. And here, Ken, I'm very curious. While writing, on the writing process, is there any, like, let's say, surprising moment that you have encountered while writing these books?
You can get very, very excited while you're writing a book. I wouldn't
Yeah,
think
like,
so because it's a hard work. In some respects, you could say boring, but it's the type of books that I write are not boring books. That's why they're page turners. So I
right,
get
right.
really excited to the point where some nights I can't sleep because I'm so excited about getting up and writing again in the morning. And the story is
Wow.
so exciting that I have to keep going with the story.
hmm
Yeah.
Wow, I like that, Ken. And you know what? Yes, it's really not boring because I've actually checked your book online and I'm actually seeing a lot of positive feedback coming from your viewers. That This book is really something that is very a must read. And for me, that's really a, let's say, a successful creation coming from you, Ken. This is really a successful one.
Yes,
Right. And now,
yes.
Ken, yes. And now, Ken, I wanted you to take this opportunity to also invite our readers to have your book on your if where can they buy your book, and also why don't you like let them know that you also have other books? Can you maybe invite them to have that other books as well?
Say that last one again. I didn't get it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, why don't we invite readers and our viewers as well to have the other books you have? Mention your other books.
Oh, yes. Well, so many of them. Atlan is the next book coming out. I'm halfway through that.
Mm.
That is
Oh,
a continuing story of Mandar of Atlantis. And when he gets
okay.
back to Atlantis, what he has to go through. And the story after that is called Mandar and Mu. Mu is another lost continent that is out in the Pacific Ocean. And to the Atlanteans, Mu is like the lost continent of Atlantis, that nobody knows if it's really there or not. They're having problems with the rumbling and things in Atlantis. So Mandar and his pal Lugar are sent to Mu to correct the problem or find out what the problem is. They get there and there is no Mu. It turns out Mu again is in another dimension. They have to figure out how to get into that dimension. And when they get there,
Mm.
they learn that there's a battle going on with two groups in Mu, and they're going to destroy each other. Unfortunately, Earth is a thought form. In other words,
Mm.
Mu people thought of Earth, and therefore it exists. And if they destroy themselves, Earth will be destroyed. So Manda has to save Earth by saving the Mu people. That's the third
Mm.
book of
Wow. I
Manda.
like that. Thank you so much, Ken. And yes, everyone, to all viewers out there, you can definitely grab a copy of Mr. Ken's book on Amazon.com, Barnes& and Noble. Definitely, you can also follow him on all the social media platforms he have to know more about him as an author and, of course, from these creation. Okay. Yes. And again, Mr. Ken, thank you so much for this discussion. Thank you so
Well,
much for
thank you
gracing
for
with us
talking to me.
today. Yes. And you know what? I must say that we really appreciate you for also, letting Readers Magnet to be part of this journey towards you reaching your goals as an author, sharing your story to the world. And again, everyone, my name is Mr. Kenneth Sousa, author of the book Mander of Atlantis, Menace. And also, again, his book is available in Amazon.com, Barnes& and Noble, and of course, his website. That would be www.kennethjsousa.com. And you may also follow him on all the social media platform we have. And again, thank you so much, Mr. K. Make we say it here on Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.